All right, so as we generally do, start with acknowledging the traditions of the Ngala people on whose land we are gathered here today, and to notify all attendees and the public that this is being live streamed, which there might be some online anyway, so welcome to all them. We're on to item 2, which is the record of attendance, which we have all councillors present. Do we? Yes, we do. And all staff, with George stepping in for Lee as the Director of Development Services, or acting as she is away on holidays, kicking her feet up. Okay, item 3 is public question time, of which we have received a couple of questions, of which Stephen Cook has submitted, who is not here, but he might be tuning in online. Now, do we have any information for Stephen on his questions?
See that we did you see this question?
Well, I'll ask them on behalf of Stephen, and then see. You can let me know how you'd like to respond.
Sure, thank you.
All right. So Stephen Cook of Nicholas asked, "Has the council planned for the construction of a full-size hockey field in Karratha?" And my answer would be, we haven't made any explicit decisions on a full-size hockey field, but we are doing a community infrastructure plan, which will encompass all public and amenity and infrastructure, including our sporting codes.
Yeah.
But we'll take that notice and we'll get back to Stephen.
Yeah, look, apologies to Stephen, because unfortunately there's been a breakdown in communications. I've only just seen this now, but what I would say is there's definitely a lot of work being done at the moment, and hockey is in there. We know that there is a desire for a full-size hockey field, and it's very much on the city's plans. It's going into our community infrastructure planning process, which we should be able to give people a view of how that's coming together within a few months' time. In terms of any planning for resurfacing of the western side of the tennis hockey fields in Bulgara, are we aware of any plans to do that?
Through the chair, I believe that's on the budget for next, or proposed for next year's budget, but I can confirm.
The 25-26.
Notice.
Thank you. Yeah. So we'll confirm that, and we'll provide responses to Stephen's questions formally in the minutes.
Okay, excellent. 4 is petitions, deputations and presentations, of which everyone will be aware that we had the deputation made the public agenda. That was by Development Projects, and they provided a presentation on 11.6, which is the housing development expression of interest for Bulgara apartments. 5 is requests for leave of absence. Does anyone have a request for leave at the next council meeting? Right. 6 is declarations of interest, of which I have only got mine in front of me. So I have a direct financial interest in 11.3, and that is the application for a proposed change of use from restaurant, takeaway food outlet to small bar and takeaway food outlet, and that is because I own a business that is in direct competition with another liquor outlet. So I'll be asking the Deputy Mayor to come and chair the meeting at 11.3. Step out of the room. 7 is confirmation of minutes and business arising from minutes of previous meetings. Office recommendation on page 5. Page 5, there's the minutes be accepted as true and correct recordings. Can someone move that, please? Councillor Gillam, someone to second it. Councillor Simpson. Anyone against the minutes? No. Minutes have passed. 8 is announcements presiding by person presiding without discussion. This is all the meetings that I attended over. Was that December? No, January and February. 9 is the corporate commercial reports with 9.1 million statements for the period ended 31st of January, with the officer's recommendation on page 7. And as the council received the financial statements for the financial period ending 31st of January 25, as shown in attachments 1 to 4. Can I have someone move this motion, please? Councillor Walsh-Muller, seconded Councillor Simpson. Is anyone against the motion? No. Councillor Walsh-Muller, anything to say for the motion? No. The motion is carried. Right, 9.2 is our list of accounts from the 1st of January to the 31st of January 25, with the officer's recommendation on page 16. As the council received the list of payments totaling just $10.9 million, nearly 11, as detailed in attachments 1, 2, and 3. I have someone move this motion. Councillor Simpson, someone second it. Councillor Nunn. Is anyone against this motion? Councillor Simpson, anything to say? Speaking for? Motion has carried. 9.3 is the investments for the period ended 31st of January 25, with the officer's recommendation on page 19. As the council received the investment report for the financial period ending 31st of January 2025. Can someone move this motion, please? Councillor Furlong. Seconded. Councillor Roots, was it? Yeah. Anyone against that motion? Councillor Furlong, would you like to speak for our investments?
No, all on track.
All track. They're all track on very well. All right. If there's no one against the motion, that motion has carried. 9.4 is the Q2 24-25 Q2 budget review, with the officer's recommendation on page 26. And as a council by absolute majority, adopt the 24-25 second quarter budget review, which results in a proposed surplus of $40,957 as at the 30th of June 2025. Someone move this motion. Councillor Gillum, someone the second motion. Councillor Furlong. Is anyone against the Q2 budget review? Councillor Gillum, would you like anything to say for?
Just very briefly, just that we were very well briefed on this from the finance manager on multiple occasions. So for that, I'm thankful. It's not always the most engaging and interesting topic, but the way that she took us through it was fantastic. And so for that, I'm grateful. And also, yeah, no, I'm done. Thank you. There was more, but I won't ramble on.
Yeah, I'd just like to note that from the public briefing that we had that, as everyone was saying, that we've itemised now the bad debt write-offs and put them in the report. So they're itemised, and the CEO has extended a report to everyone to outline, those individual outcomes and stories and why they occurred and why we're about to write that debt off. So if there's no one else like to speak for it and no one against, that motion is carried. Right, 9.5 is the KPIs or KPMs for Q2 24-25, with the officer's recommendation on page 31. And that is that council received the Q2 performance report for 24-25 and approve adjustments to the following KPIs, and that is to withdraw to a 1.1B, which is to maintain the value of economic development grants that are approved by the city, as this is not a good measure of outcomes achieved, and amend the quarterly target for 2.A.2.1.D, maintain the value of Take Your Business Online grants that are approved by the city from $100,000 to $25,000. Can I have someone move this motion? Councillor J. Swapper. It's funny being in this chair because I know everyone's bloody name. Councillor Swapper, seconded. Councillor Simpson. Is anyone against this motion? Councillor Swapper, would you like to speak for the key performance measures?
Just that it's good to see most of them on track, and with the Take Your Business Online grants that we're changing the target for, it's not really changing the amount that's being given out to the community, which could potentially be misstrued there, but it's just changing that quarterly target. So I think it's a good move.
Yeah, very popular program, you Take Your Business Online. All right, anyone else speak for it? No, there's no one against that motion. It is carried. Moving on to 10. And 10.1 is to approve the advertised draft strategic community plan for 2025 to 2035, with the officer's recommendation on page 42, and that is to agree to advertise the draft 25 to 35 SCP for public comment for a 4-week period, and to request administration to present a summary of public comment back to council in June 2025 along with the draft council plan. Can I have someone move this motion? Councillor Roots, I'm going to second it. Councillor Gillum. Anyone against the motion? Councillor Roots, would you like to speak for the motion?
I would love to. Such a privilege to be able to play the small part in this that I did, and it was such an intensive time of engagement with the community in lots of different ways. There's been a lot of talk of previous strategic plans, especially lately, so it would be great to get this revised look out to the public to find out if we got it right. So I'm really looking forward to hearing back again.
Yeah. Councillor Gillum, would you like to speak for?
For me, so this represents a huge body of work that was undertaken over multiple months, and so much went into it, so much consultation with the community. And I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate the vision. The City of the North, the powerhouse of the nation, and a place we're proud to call home. I think that is a really powerful message. And hopefully the community have some further feedback that they might like to fold into this.
Yeah, thank you. And I'd like to extend my thanks to the CEO and the executive and the management team on producing this strategic community plan. And what a privilege it is to be sitting at a table when you're at the start of it. You know, quite often you come onto local government and there's already a strategic community plan. There's already the corporate business plan. All these plans have been done. So to be on a local government around the table when you get to be a part of implementing or starting the journey on a strategic community plan is very, very fulfilling. And I'm just happy that we all got a chance to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to it rolling out. So hopefully we get some public comment and we can bring it back and adopt it. All right, anyone else like to speak for the motion? Right, that motion has carried. Okay, 11. Yes, I've missed anything? Yeah. 11.1 is the major event sponsorship and attraction program for the proposed sponsorship for Our Town television episode, with the officer's recommendation on page 49. And that is a council approved sponsorship funding in the 25 to 26 financial year to Visage sounds better. Visage Productions Foundation as follows. So Visage Productions, Our Town television series for a grant approval of $45,000. Have someone move this motion? Councillor Wilson-Miller, second Councillor Simpson. Anyone against the motion? Would you like to speak for the motion, Councillor Wilson-Miller?
Sure. I just think this is very good value for money, considering what cost to ads on the television. It's great. This series happened a few years ago in town. I think as long as we capture all our beautiful towns within our city with this television series, I think it would be a good way to try and encourage people to come and live and work and play in the city of Karratha.
Great. Councillor Simpson, I'll speak for it.
I think we summed it up. I think it's an opportunity to any time you can promote the city and all the aspects of all our towns is certainly an opportunity. And as Councillor Storm pointed out, the cost of doing ads on TV, this is a very good go.
Yeah, and I heard, based on the feedback last week, that we get some say on some of the content. So if anyone's interested in playing a part, let the team know. All right, if there's no one against that motion has passed. 11.3 is the motion on this. Oh, did I miss one?
Yeah, 11.2.
Oh, Walgu. Apologies. Okay, 11.2, Walgu Apartments, development on lot 7020 and part of lot 718. With the officer's recommendation on page 54, and that is that council accept the Walgu feasibility report dated 30th October 2024, and 2, to not proceed with the city's Walgu Apartments development, including the acquisition of lot 7020 and part lot 718 Wilcombe Road, and 3, support development of lot 7020 and 7018 through A, the advocacy of the state government, federal government and industry, and B, identification of private developers with an interest in construction of apartments or mixed-use development on the site. Can I have someone move this motion? Councillor Simpson, second to Councillor Gillum. Is anyone against the motion? Councillor Simpson, would you like to speak for the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the interesting part here is that this has been on our agenda for such a long time, shorting housing. I think also the apartment block was always supposed to bookend our sharp outs to activate that into town, which is our goal. I know the line says not to proceed, but in reality, Block 3 talks about still advocacy to the state and federal governments. It's still on our table, it's still on our agenda, it's still on our advocacy piece. It's a matter of finding some other money than ratepayer money to try and bring this project together. I'm comfortable there that we've done the work, it's there ready to roll. Just need to find someone with a large checkbook so we can really kick it off, but it's one of those things. But I'm more happy with the fact that we're still part of advocacy. We'll keep pushing for it, but at the time being, I guess the word park it, still there. Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Gillam.
Sure. Just to follow on from what Councillor Simpson said, what has been built here, what has been created is a development-ready project, and as is evidenced by the amount of development companies that have asked questions about this, I feel like we are very close to having something that moves forward, and this is the right direction for us to go in.
Yeah, we certainly just need a development that has better economies of scale. Yeah. There's a big piece of land there, and we can get the right mix of development on that site. I'm sure that we can find a suitable outcome that will work for developers and all parties involved. So there's no one against that motion. That motion is carried. All right, 11.3. Okay, this one. All right, I'll step out of the room. This and ask if Deputy Mayor, Councillor Gillam, will chair the meeting.
Item 11.3 is the development application DA24-114, the proposed change of use from restaurant and takeaway food outlet to small bar and takeaway food outlet, number 177/26 Sharp Avenue in Peck's Creek, with the officer's recommendation at the bottom of page 60. The officer's recommendation is that council approve the development application DA24-114 for a change of use from restaurant and takeaway food outlet to small bar and takeaway food outlet at Strata Lot 177, number 26 Sharp Avenue, is subject to the following conditions. The first one being that the decision to approve the change of use shall expire if the new use is not substantially commenced within 2 years of the date of this decision. And secondly, that prior to the commencement of the small bar use, a revised noise management plan shall be submitted and approved by the City of Karratha. The noise management plan must be informed by the recommendations of the noise assessment report prepared by Acoustics Consultants Australia, and is to include A, no event to extend beyond 12 midnight on any evening, B, avoidance of excessive emissions of low frequencies below 100 hertz, no use of subwoofers and speakers to use low cut filters, no vapes or equalisers to minimise low frequencies, C, music noise levels not exceeding 79 decibels at listener locations, D, installation of appropriate resilient mounts to stop vibrational resonance, and E, use of acoustic limited devices to feed into the sound system and limit room sound levels not to exceed 79 decibels at listeners' ears, where T is the typical assessment period between 5 and 15 minutes. Oh, there's more. F.
I thought you were going there.
It's on page and that's F. Addition of the layer of 13 mil fire rated plasterboard to the ceiling and fill the void with dense mineral wool. G, ceilings and walls to be covered with absorption class NR 0.95 panelling where space allows. H, patrons are not to use the outdoor area after 10 p.m. I, measures for minimising patron noise in the external area. J, DJs maintaining appropriate noise levels and proactively adjusting low frequency equipment. K, how residents at nearby noise sensitive receivers, the apartments in Pelago East and the Pelago West towers fronting Sharp Avenue, will be kept informed of all event plans, including date, time, duration, contact name and number of a nominated person during the event, and L, a complaint handling procedure. The noise management plan is approved by the local government will be implemented at all times. 3, prior to the commencement of the small bar use, an operational management plan should be submitted to and approved by the City of Karratha. The operational management plan shall outline measures to mitigate negative external impacts on surrounding businesses and residents. Such management measures should include A, a proactive and responsive approach to rubbish collection, B, designated smoking areas that align with smoking in public places regulated under Tobacco Products Control Regulations 2006, C, adequate security lighting and monitoring of the area, D, regular security patrols during music events, and E, complaint management procedures. F, any other matter that may impact community safety, security and amenity of the surrounding area. The operational management plan is approved by the local government but implemented at all times. We're nearly there. Number 4, unless a variation to trading hours is approved in writing by the local government, the trading hours are submitted to the following: A, for normal operations, Monday to Sunday inclusive, between 11:30 and 8:30, or B, for events as described in the noise assessment report, Friday and Saturday between 11:30 and 12 business. Number 5, a maximum of 2 events shall be held in any month on a Friday or Saturday night only, and a maximum of 62 patrons at any time. Would anybody like to move this motion, councillors? Thank you, Councillor Swapper. Would anyone like to second the motion? Thank you, Councillor Nunn. Councillor Swapper, would you like to speak to the motion?
Sure. I think it's a great opportunity to have another business operating in town, offering variety to the community. I believe, looking at the schedule of submissions, the main concern that was raised was noise, and I believe what's written in the recommendation really addresses those concerns, and also provides some positive opportunities, like with the complaints process and things like that in place too. So hopefully it gives this business another opportunity to thrive in the community, and also an offering to community members.
Thank you, Councillor Swapper. Councillor Nunn, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, great to see one of our local businesses really running with their business and expanding. I just really wanted to point out the line at the bottom of point 3, and this is, I just wanted to get this amended before we moved it. It says approved by the local government but be implemented, and I think that says must instead of but. Doesn't actually make any sense.
Yes, that's through the chair. I actually picked that up as you were reading it out. I think if you look at the clause above it, it says as approved by the local government be implemented at all times. And I think that's the intent here, is it's as approved, that the operational plan as approved by the local government be implemented at all times. So I think it
must be either or, just didn't want to move it.
So I think I would be suggesting remove the word but is what seems sensible to me.
Okay, so moving that motion to omit the word but under item number 3.
That's right.
Okay. Is there anybody against the motion? And if not, then the motion is now passed. Thank you, councillors. That was a long one. Someone please retrieve the mayor.
It was pretty ambitious.
Yeah, I felt like it needed to be. It was
actually really good.
Definitely.
Not trying to have to stop.
Thanks. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that motion was passed.
Passed. Excellent. Okay, so 11.4. All right, 11.4 is a scheme amendment number 62 to the City of Karratha Local Planning scheme number 8 to rezone lot 23 Murphy Way and lot 224 Galbraith Road, Peaks Creek, from residential R20 to residential R40, with the officer's recommendation on page 69, and that is that the council in accordance with regulation 50, -2 of the planning and development scheme regulations 15, note the submissions received in respect to scheme amendment number 62 and the Karratha Local Planning Scheme, and B, endorse the response to the submissions as contained in attachment 3, and 2, in accordance with regulation 50-3A of the planning and development regulation, support scheme amendment number 62 and local planning scheme number 8 in accordance with attachment 2, and 3, in accordance with regulations 34 and 35 of the planning and development regulations, retain the standard amendment classification for amendment number 62 for the following reasons. A, the proposal is generally consistent with the endorsed local planning scheme and aims to increase residential density coding for diversity of housing within Karratha, and B, the increased density coding is unlikely to cause an adverse impact on the environmental, social and economic context of the area, given the proposal will result in residential development that is similar in scale to the 2 immediately adjoining lots. And C, the proposal will have minimal impact on the surrounding land not subject to this amendment. Someone move this motion. Councillor Roots, someone to second it. Councillor Walsh-Muller. Is anyone against this motion? Councillor Roots, would you like to speak for the motion?
Sure. I think in the middle of a housing crisis where nowhere is left untouched, we really need to continue to diversify our stock here in town, and particularly with the admin's work in letting us know that there's no adverse impacts on the surrounding areas. I think this one's a no-brainer.
Councillor Roots, Councillor Walsh-Muller, would you like to speak for the motion?
Yeah, just to agree with what Councillor Root said, and obviously that land has been vacant for a long time. So basically we're just putting similar what's already there, similar size, so I think it'd be a good fit for that area.
Yeah, I think it's great, right? It's someone else's land, they want to develop on it.
Yeah.
Fantastic, it's exactly what we want to see. Anyone else to speak for the motion? No, if there's no one against the motion has carried. 11.5 is the review of local planning policies, DPO 7, residential development requirements, and DP 11, transportable buildings in residential areas.
Yeah.
With the officer's recommendation on page 76. There's that council pursuant to clause 5 of Schedule 2, Part 2 of Planning and Development Regulations, resolved to proceed with local planning policy DPO 7, residential development requirements included in attachment 3 for final adoption. And clarification, this is cutting red tape. Would someone like to move this motion? Councillor Furlong. Someone to second it? Councillor Simpson. Anyone against the motion? No, would you like to speak for it? Councillor Furlong.
Director Riddell spoke the reasoning behind this a lot over the last couple of months, and it reduces red tape and supports the planning team. I think it's a good fit.
Simpson, would you like to speak for it?
The current situation with cost of building a modular type constructions that are now coming in, prefabricated to reduce the cost on is coming more and more prominent. We've seen presentations of building three apartment blocks with modules. So this sort of lines in with that transportable type stuff that we've got to get ready to how we accept them. I think at the end of the day, what's probably more important, as we all know around the table, in the last boom, some of those modular homes that came in with the flat roofs, the quality of that was smaller pads, only 50 mil. So now the regulations are in place, and this should hopefully streamline it through, but also maintain a standard of modular home with good roots to the ground, and also all those issues that we've had in the past hopefully should be fixed up.
Better streamlining development applications. If there's anyone else like to speak for the motion, there's no one against the motion. That motion has carried. Right, 11.6 is the housing development expression of interest business plan for the Bulgara apartments. For the officer's recommendation on page 83. And then as the council approved the draft business plan to invest in the proposed development at lot 636 Nan Street, lot 751 Gregory Way, and lot 1926 Ridley Street, Bulgara, for the purpose of housing as proposed as an attachment to this report. And 2, agree to advertise the business plan calling for public submissions in accordance with section 3.59 of the Local Government Act 1995. Can I have someone move this motion? Councillor Gillan, someone to second the motion. Councillor Roots, is there anyone against the motion? Councillor Gillan, would you like to speak for this motion?
Sure. I would be interested to hear the feedback from people who live in Bulgara, but also other community members as to how they received this plan. I think that the briefing that we received from the proponents demonstrated it's been well researched, well thought out, and it looks like it would, to me, it would be a really fabulous addition to the suburb of Bulgara. So I would be interested to hear what we get back from the community on this.
Councillor Roots.
Just to echo that it's imperative to get feedback from the people living in these areas.
Yeah, I agree, and I've been doing the research actually, and there's a house for sale at the moment in Bankton West. It was listed for $815,000. There's a current bid today that went to I think it was $830,000, and the next current bid today is going up to $900,000. So someone's bid that house $85,000 above the asking price. And that just tells you a small little story of what's happening in our town as far as properties and our need for more properties. So there's no one else like to speak for that motion, and no one else is against it. That motion has carried. Okay, 12 is cheap projects and infrastructure reports, with 12.1 being the panel applications for design services. The officer's recommendation on page 91. And as the council agreed to invite applications to join a panel for design services for a period of 3 years in accordance with the scope of works outlined in this report. And 2, agree that the panel for design services is to include A, the appointment of between 3 and 7 contractors, B, the maximum value of any one-off project is capped at $1 million, and 3, endorse the selection criteria as outlined in the table below. Can I have someone move this motion? Councillor Nunn, someone to second the motion. Councillor Simpson, is anyone against the motion? Councillor Nunn, would you like to speak for the motion?
Right, looking forward to some outcomes.
Councillor Simpson, anything to say?
Self-explanatory. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no one against the motion, that motion is carried. 12.2 is the minor works fire protection systems and equipment request to call for tenders. The officer's recommendation on page 99. And there's a council agreed to invite tenders for minor works for fire protection systems and equipment for a period of 3 years, with 2 by 1 year extension options, exercisable at sole discretion of the city and in accordance with the scope of works as outlined in this report. Someone please move this motion. Councillor Gillam, someone second it. Councillor Nunn. Anyone against the motion? Councillor Gillam, anything to say on fire protection systems?
There's nothing particularly controversial about this one, and I can't see that we'd get too many contractors all fighting each other to tender for it. But hopefully we get it sorted and we have someone tendering for it.
Councillor Nunn, anything to say? I do know that we have a new fire protection systems business moving to town, which is great. So you never know, they might bid in for this. And just another new business that is moving to Karratha, which is a fantastic outcome. If there's no one against that motion, then it is carried. 12.3 is the minor works reticulation services request to call for tenders. The officer's report on page 102. There's a council agreed to invite tenders for minor works reticulation services for a period of 3 years, with 2 by 1 year extension options, exercisable with sole discretion of the city and in accordance with the scope of works as outlined in this report. Someone move this motion, please. Councillor Furlong, someone second it. Councillor Bush-Muller, is anyone against going out for reticulation services? Councillor Furlong.
I don't do anything.
Any expertise in this space?
Not at all.
Thanks for going out for tenders. Okay, if there's no one against that motion has carried. 12.4. Karratha and Danby Cleaning Services request to call for tenders. Tide is in, eh? With the officer's recommendation on page 105, and that is the council agreed to invite tenders for Karratha and Danby Cleaning Services for a period of 3 years, with 2 by 1 year extension options, exercisable at sole discretion of City Karratha and in accordance with the scope of works as outlined in this report. Someone like to move this motion? Councillor Worcester-Muller, someone to second it? Councillor Swaffer. Is anyone against this motion? Councillor Worcester-Muller.
Yes, just cleaning is a very important part of maintaining our assets. The current company doing cleaning is doing an amazing job, and yeah, it's just fantastic to see the ongoing maintenance of our businesses, because it's very important, and it's one thing that the general public definitely always mention if things aren't up to scratch. So it's important to keep on top of it. So
Should have stayed on what was said. Councillor Swaffer, anything to say?
No, I just echo Councillor Waterstrom-Muller. It's very important that we look after our assets and keeping them clean for people to enjoy. And hopefully we see some of those sustainable options in there as well.
Very good point, Councillor Swaffer. Sustainability and cleaning is also important. Now, if there's no one against this motion, it is carried. 13 is the Chief Executive Officer reports with 13.1, the items for information only. For the officer's recommendation on page 110, and there's a council note the following information items as outlined from 13.1.1 through to 13.1.10. Someone like to move this motion? Councillor Nunn, I've seen that. Second the motion. Councillor Simpson. Is anyone against the motion? Councillor Nunn, do you have anything to say with our items of information only?
I just reminded the first motion I ever moved. I scratched my head. No, I think there is some great stats in there. Really great to see how engaged our youth advisory group is, and to the youth week activities.
Hopefully there's an increase in numbers of the base. Councillor Councillor Simpson.
Just noticed one little line there was meet the street parties. Like I noticed on Ford as well, which is sort of like, I think I've had one in my street and it's been really good, maybe 3 years ago. Yes, but it's a really good outcome. I brought everyone together. Yeah, hopefully we can probably maybe promote it a bit more because it's really good. One of the things I point to was in Port Hedland, they hold the Welcome to Hedland evening, which is like an event. And it's sort of like, as we got high turnover of people coming and going, I feel like I Meet the Street's a really good one. Like we did one 2 or 3 years ago, I moved to a new street now, but I could redo it again because I don't know half the people in my street. So investing about security, street is much bigger neighbours are, and the kids know where else. But yeah, it's been a good program. So probably need to look at just how we keep that going and re-advertise it or promote it.
That's a good point you make, Councillor Simpson, and everyone's really happy to know that it's in our SCP. Continue to work, man. Okay. If there's no one against that motion, then it is carried. And motions of which notice has been given. We have one. You all should have a copy in front of you. Okay, so this notice the motion is for state housing accountability and community protection, forward by Councillor Johansson, and the council's recommendation is that council one formally calls on the state government and Department of Communities to immediately implement stronger accountability measures for tenants in state-owned housing to engage in antisocial behaviour, criminal activity, or severe property neglect. 2, request the CEO to prepare a formal report identifying the most problematic state housing properties within the city based on community complaints, ranger reports and WA police data, and submit these findings to the Minister for Housing, Pilbara and Community Services, urging immediate action. 3, commits to utilising all available local government powers under the Health Act 1911, the Local Government Act 1995 and other relevant legislation to enforce compliance on state-owned properties that become public health hazards, sources of criminal activity or significant nuisances to neighbours. And 4, initiates a public awareness campaign to support law-abiding residents by encouraging residents to formally report problem properties, ensuring full transparency regarding council efforts to address this issue, investigate an interactive map on the city's website to highlight problem houses, and relaunch the Safer Communities Partnership networking meetings with key stakeholders. Can I have someone move this motion? Councillor Johansson, someone to second the motion? Councillor Swaffer. Is anyone against this motion? Councillor Roos, Councillor Furlong, Councillor Nunn, and Councillor Gillum. Okay, Councillor Johansson, would you like to speak for the motion?
Initially, just addressing the point that was sent through in 2 different emails, the bit where it says investigate an interactive map. Initially, it said implement an interactive map, and that was already addressed with Emma, and she advised to change it to investigate. So it leaves it open to internal staff to work out the processes of that. Doesn't mean it will happen. I think it should happen, but we've since changed the word to investigate, so it means they can scrap it anyway. I think if we ignore visible neglect in state housing like vandalism, broken fixtures and rubbish, and build up, we risk fostering a culture of disregard that can escalate into more serious issues. Studies on the broken windows effect suggest that when disorder goes unaddressed, it signals residents that no one cares, leading to further decline. Holding the government accountable for timely maintenance and enforcement is just about aesthetics. It's about preventing larger social and safety problems before they take root.
Thank you, Councillor Johansson. Who's first? Councillor Nunn.
Okay.
Would you like to speak against the motion?
Councillor Rhodes.
I actually agree with the majority of this recommendation, but I can't support even spending council officer time investigating an interactive map. We went through a period a few years ago where there was some really horrible vigilante Facebook groups and some activities that were just unacceptable for our community. And I believe that highlighting specific houses puts that straight back into our community, and it's just not something I want to see. So, I think there are lots of things happening in this space, and I think we can work through these without going through the interactive map. So,
Councillor Nunn.
I was against 2. Do I speak as well, or something?
No, I've got to go to 4. Who was like Councillor Swaffer?
Yeah.
Would you like to speak for the motion?
I think I feel like the Department of Communities and State Government had waves of being accountable in this area, and I do think it's on a decline at the moment. So any way in which we can assist to bridge that gap again and have some accountability there. If there is an opportunity potentially to review and amend the recommendation, if it is a small, reading it like that, and with Councillor Nunn's comment there, I didn't probably think that interactive map was going to be, I didn't probably read the website component that much, that I didn't realise it was going to be a visible thing for all residents. I believe it would be very valuable internally for different agencies to utilise that information, and potentially, it's like highlight areas, right? So if you are starting to get these calls from police or reported incidents and things like that, then at least you can start to gather some of that information or see if there's a bit of a hotspot area and what we can do about it. But whether or not that's something that we could look to amend out of there, or as Councillor Johansson said, it does just say investigate, so it's nothing to say that it has to happen. But otherwise, I think it's a great opportunity to relaunch the Safer Communities Partnership. I do think that was a really great network when it was up and running. I think it would be good for our community.
Thank you, Councillor Swaffer. Councillor Roots, would you like to speak against the motion?
Certainly. So I believe I wouldn't feel comfortable to put my name on some of the things that are written in here. I believe it's really ostracising. I think that we have to remember that whether we may agree with it or not, that everyone housed in our area is who we represent. I do want to say that I support the Safer Communities Partnership. I think that's really valuable that that's been made aware to the newer councillors that have been elected. People who are in state housing are already significantly disadvantaged, and I don't believe that in appointing people who are having troubles, I think it takes away the agency of actual community care, and I believe that local government does have a role to play in this space. I agree with the administration that this is very, very complex, and I don't think a pointing of the fingers is something that I could support.
Councillor Roots. Councillor Johansson, would you like to have the opportunity to speak for the motion again?
Yeah, again, to the interactive map. Shit, if there was any vigilantes in this town that really want to deal with these houses, we all know where they are. They stand out. So whether we identify where they are or not, it's not going to make a difference. If someone wanted to be a vigilante, they know where these houses exist. A solution for it is a few councils can do a heat map sort of scenario where you don't pinpoint a specific address, but you show a heat map area of like a certain street as a bit of a red zone, so it makes people aware. It also benefits people coming to town. You see questions all the time with people asking, where should I rent? Where should I buy? You know, what area should I move into? This at least allows people to have an understanding of where they're going to live before they, you know, move into a house that looks $200 cheaper on the net because the neighbours that live next door to it. I think it brings an awareness to the areas, and it makes people start cleaning up the issues that we've got going on.
If I was at a bit as well, is anyone open to an amendment on this motion? Because, you know, I'm sort of thinking that I wouldn't necessarily like to formally call out the state government or Department of Communities. However, I do think that CEO could prepare a formal report by liaising with our stakeholders in WA Police, you know, housing and children community services, creating the Safer Communities Partnership network meetings, and you know, sort of going down the path of working closer with our agencies to identify solutions for public housing, and to make the Minister aware of the data that we have collected that they may not be aware of. For example, they come to say, government comes out and says that we build state housing here. They don't require development approvals. They just go and build them. I don't know how many there are. I don't know what they're for. But do they know the breadth of issues that we might have in the community? I don't think they do. So I agree there was a role for us to play. So in saying that, would anyone be prepared in supporting an amendment that says requests the CEO to prepare a formal report identifying our state housing properties and working with the range of reports and WA Police data, and working with Department of Housing, Children Community Services to collate the information required and draft a report on the status of our social housing within the city of Karratha.
Do you think you're changing the intent there?
Well, sort of. Well, yeah, and then I'd add another point to say, you know, relaunch the Safer Communities Partnership network meetings with key stakeholders. And then once the CEO has finalised their report, that is brought back to council for further consideration and determination on the next steps forward.
Can I just get clear on what you like? What are you proposing as the amendment? I understand we're taking from point 2 that Councillor Johansson has suggested.
Yes, we're taking from point 2 that we still request the CEO to prepare a report.
Of the same thing.
So yeah, of the social housing properties within the city of Karratha, and working with those departments, the Department of Communities, Department of Housing, WA Police.
Could I be clear, identifying the most problematic, or just where they are?
So this is
Well, I think, yeah. So would you like to move our standing orders to discuss this more? Because I think it's important, the point and what Brenton's brought forward, and I think we need to discuss it more. So someone like to move our standing orders? Councillor Swapper, second. Councillor Walsh-Muller. Okay, let's thrash this out.
So the interactive map, by the way, only came about because of your email you sent me initially, where you asked me about how will they prove transparency. I sort of thought, well, let's create an interactive map because then it's transparent. So
I would have thought from a
that was the only reason that came about. It was from your email.
definitely was not my intent. I would have thought from a Privacy Act perspective, we have to tread carefully. So even asking for specific properties makes me unsettled. I think if we talk about hotspots, to be able to feed that back, but this is still private information. This is people's addresses. This is
I'm
their
not comfortable with
details.
any report coming across that pinpoints people. I don't think that's conducive.
But there is there is some social housing issues.
And I think there can be a report that talks to those.
Yes.
And how many reports do we receive, and how many did WA Police, and how many houses are the Rangers dealing with, without talking about specifics. And I think that's the thing that is making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think what Councillor Jansen has raised here is that there is a role for local government to advocate in this space. We do have residents that are concerned with the properties that are near them and what they're dealing with on a sometimes nightly or weekly basis. So I sort of agree that we should take on play a role in this, and it's just about how do we do that without. I sort of agree. I don't want to pinpoint properties, but I think we can liaise with our stakeholders. We can gather information and data, and we can do a report, and we can write to the minister outlining the issue, some of the issues we face in our communities, from a safety and community perspective, and around the issues that those people have in their properties that been forced to have these issues that aren't theirs to bear alone. So identifying those issues and making the state government aware, I think that's important, because I don't think that they would be completely aware of all of the some of the social issues we have.
Are we able to perhaps
I don't want to touch it. No one does. But where does the rights of the private? Sorry.
Thank you. Are we able to work with state government and Department of Communities instead of, if we could work with them to perhaps have, it's so complex, and I know that anything I say is going to seem like a drop in the ocean, but we have to do something different. I understand that this has come from a particular complaint that's come to you, and I don't know if that person has followed.
I could
there are
bring 10 people in
procedures.
that would have this complaint. 10 people.
Do those 10 people know the procedure to follow that is already in place?
Can we take the people out of it? The state government have an obligation to look after their houses.
Yeah.
So the issue is the state government is not doing their job, really. So can we actually remove the people from pointing to people? Like Sarah's right, people who are in these state houses are often at the end of their rope anyway. Their back is against the wall, they're living, but that doesn't make it right either. It doesn't make it right for their neighbours.
Everyone has a responsibility to their
But
neighbours.
the state government have a responsibility to look after these houses because they're their houses. So can we put pressure on the state government to step up and look after? It's their responsibility.
Yeah, and the answer is yes, we can. We could even make an amendment to this status so we add this as part of our advocacy work.
I think there's too much accusatory language as the way it's currently written. I'll just draw your attention to item number 4, supporting law-abiding residents. That language is then presumptive that if you are living in one of these homes that you're not law-abiding. So I think we need to basically pull the whole thing apart and put it back together as a completely different motion, which is when then we are then no longer talking about an amendment.
It's not saying all of them. It's finding the non-ones.
That's a little social.
Okay, well, we can either make an amendment, or we can create a new motion. Or if this is something people will discuss further, we can go back into standing orders, we can vote on it. And we can, if everyone agrees, bring this to a workshop and discuss it more in detail with each other and with the executive, and work through, what sort of role we want to play as a local government in this space.
There are elements that have value. The Safer Communities Partnership Exhibit A. However, the way that it's worded, the language that it's using, yeah.
And also, I'd also like to add too, obviously, and I'd like to get communities around the table. So maybe that's something we should have them at a briefing, and then we can make a call on what does that look like, because you haven't heard their side of the story either. And there's a Residential Tenancy Act in place. There's their policies, procedures in place. Maybe they haven't got the enough people on the ground to deliver what they should be delivering. So maybe, yes, it does need to get pushed, but be interested to hear from Department of Communities first, because I think they're interested in their side of the story too before we make assumptions. If they can, I'm sure they'll be able to give some statistics about what they're actually dealing with currently. And and I still think this area does, to speak to the rangers and the police as well, and we can have that conversation and then make a joint effort to go to the state to say, hey, we need to rectify this. This is what is happening, and getting that information.
Because as you see in our strategic community plan, health is a part of what we're going to start advocating for. And we had WACS come in here to a presentation and explain to us what's happening in their world. And I feel like the same thing needs to happen for social housing, right? There's not enough information that we know about it necessarily, that our government departments that are here working in it would know and could share information. Because in the day, I think what we want to try to do is support the departments that work in this space, that live and work within our community. And the best way to support them is to hear from them and hear their needs and what they would like us as their local government to do to support them in what they're lacking to do their role effectively and efficiently.
I feel like that would be very helpful.
Just a couple of things on the motion on the screen there. Can we change the request to the city? I don't think it's CEO's got better things to do. I think the city can do it, staff can do it. I think it's more important that the city as a whole can do something on that. Just that I think all this is fine. We just got to try and find a way through.
We can, but then when we go to saying, "Oh, someone, we've got a motion on the table. If someone wants to move an amendment, then they've got to come up with an amendment. They put that on the table.
Put that on the table.
If you don't do that, then we're going to the vote."
I think it would be disappointing to not have something come out of it as of tonight. I think Councillor Johansson has brought this to our attention in a relatively we've had enough time to ask these questions prior to tonight. So I think there should be something that I think that we could potentially still have, that call to relaunch the Safer Communities out tonight. That sort of thing. I think we could definitely look to have a recommendation to work with state government and Department of Communities to strengthen enforcement of tenancy concerns, because I think it's important that we are still listening to our community too. Even when you think about the young kids that came in and presented to us, they want to live in a safe community. I know as an adult, I feel safe, and when you compare City of Karratha's crime rate to the city and other bits and pieces, we are a safe community, but people are still feeling unsafe. So I do think it's this is just a component of that, and a way in which we can show that we're trying to do something about it as well. So I'd be willing to propose a.
It's been alternate.
An alternate.
No, it's not an amendment.
No.
That depends. It could be. Could be an amendment.
Yeah, I think so.
It doesn't change.
I also go back to Sarah's point around understanding the reporting process. I think that dot point for one, but I kind of would like to leave that in there in terms of making sure that the community is aware of what the process is.
Because I don't actually think, though, that Department of Community share that either.
No.
It's all a bit of a,
It's very convoluted.
Yeah.
It's not a clear process.
And I mean, where do you find that contact number? And Brenton shared earlier that some people are frightened using that process because, you know, you get a paddy wagon out the front of your place after you've called.
Okay, so council work with state government, not formally called.
Yeah. All right. So it's feeling like in the room that majority would like an alternate recommendation. We're going to run through each point, and then we can sort of let us know if you want to keep it and or what you want to change. So one is that formally calls on the state government and Department of Communities to immediately implement stronger accountability measures for tenants in state-owned housing engaged in antisocial behaviour, criminal activity or severe property neglect. Is that point one disappearing altogether?
I think it could be work with state government and Department of Communities to strengthen the enforcement of tenancy conditions in state-owned housing, ensuring intervention in cases of antisocial criminal activity and severe property neglect.
That's part of their role, so I think it's good.
And they're raising it with them.
It's an interface. They're not our enemy. We work
No.
with them. So I think it's fine to work with them for one of their own objectives.
Okay. So
And Virginia sent this through like 1 second before I drove into the car park, but there's obviously been a portfolio change. Is it still called Department of Communities?
I think it is, yeah. Check that.
It says Department of Housing and Works takes on all housing functions from Department of Communities.
Oh, actually, yeah, you're probably right.
So that, but can we amend it to say?
So those changes don't take effect until 1 July, but
Put slash.
so yeah.
yeah, or just all relevant state government agencies.
Yeah. Or work with state government.
Yeah. Okay, so Kate is So is everyone happy with that? And so to work with the state government and all relevant departments and agencies?
Yeah. Two.
Yeah, to implement stronger accountability measures for tenants in state-owned housing who engage in antisocial behaviour, criminal activity or severe property neglect.
You need to strike them too.
So we're working on number one still.
Oh, sorry. Carry on back to one.
So people happy with that? Tenants in state-owned housing who engage in antisocial behaviour, criminal activity or severe property neglect. That's what we're working on. That's what we're working on.
I think it's concise for what the whole issue is. Like we could take the meat out of it and then it'll have no teeth. But I think this is at the crux of what our issue is. So it's their objective anyway, but I think it's important to label it.
And two is request to see a formal report identifying the most problematic state housing properties for the city based on community complaints, range of reports, police data. Submit these findings to the minister.
Yeah, strip two.
I think for me on item number two, even if you're going to say they're problematic, they still have a right to privacy. And it's not for us to define that either, I don't think.
Does the City of Karratha share if there's a large number of reported incidents with like Department of Communities?
Through the chair, I might just get some feedback. I'm seeing some nodding.
Yeah, through the chair, typically if it's property related, it's definitely conversations that occur with Department of Communities. So with police as well.
So could we potentially even change that to say, share, collate?
Was that really back to point one where we are working with?
Yeah.
So without going down too many.
Yeah.
That just covers it.
Creates an action.
All right, so what we're hearing, we're deleting two. 3, commits to utilising all available local government powers under the Health Act and the Local Government Act and other relevant legislation to enforce compliance on state-owned properties that become public health hazards, sources of criminal activity or significant nuisance to neighbours.
Move it.
Well, we should be doing it anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Could you put the act part back up the top with number one? So you can talk about state government, you've got the relevant departments, agencies and acts. Because legislation, because we're already following that anyway, aren't we?
Well, we should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit back to Jim's point before. It is really around
Still want to see some action.
the requirements.
It's more, number 3 was in there because it's more the resources. Like we don't have enough people or rangers to
Do it.
do it.
Can we enforce compliance? Or
Yeah.
some of them
Some of
can,
those
but-
things
Well,
are.
it says commit,
Yeah,
commit to.
My concern with 3, if it's staying there, is that those things don't necessarily just happen at state-owned.
No.
If our job is to enforce that legislation, which it is, then it's. I don't think pinpointing state-owned property
No.
is necessary. I think that if we feel like administration, for a better word, are not fulfilling their role because of resources or because of whatever, then I don't think it needs to say state-owned property. It's just about
any property.
highlighting that we have a role to play in some of those matters.
Yeah, that's a good
and
point.
to ensure that that remains a priority.
Are you suggesting take out the state-owned part
Yes, it is.
and just sort of say commit enforced compliance on properties that become problematic? Public health
Could be
hazards.
any property.
I'm not sure what we can really do in terms of sources of criminal activity. I don't believe we have any legislation that we can.
Yeah, I think sources of criminal activity that would be outside our ability to.
All we can do is the rangers can.
I think we have-
communicate with the
Yeah,
police.
and that goes back to 1, right?
Which goes back to one,
Let's delete that one.
All right, so there's a further other relevant legislation to enforce compliance on properties that become public health hazards or significant nuisances to neighbours. 4, initiates a public awareness campaign to support residents.
Yeah.
By encouraging residents to formally report problem properties. Ensuring full transparency regarding council's efforts to address this issue. And relaunch the Safer Communities Partnership network meetings with key stakeholders.
And I think that first point to, encouraging residents to formally report problems is no different to us going from the Reported Act to Verizon Power if there's a light out in your street. Is that right? Main roads, and we advocate for that on our website already. So if it's an issue with a main road, we say go to this website and report it here. So I think it's again just strengthening that partnership with Department of Communities as well to go, hey, if this is happening at a nearby house, then it's to go through this reporting mechanism and not so much our reporting function.
It's a single investment of our resource to put it on a website so it stays there, that we can support people to know where they go.
That's right.
Yes, and I do like that. I think reported is changing to something else, but that, if something comes up that is not our remit, it's directing them exactly where to go. I think probably what's missing from encouraging residents to formally report problem properties is via appropriate channels.
Yeah.
If you formally report something to us, but if it's not our matter, it's a police matter, then that's the appropriate channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, which we don't need to state in there because because part of this resolution will be, it's a public awareness campaign. We put it out if you're facing issues within your neighbourhood with some, nuisance neighbours, here's your channels.
Yeah, I think it's good.
With state government. Okay. How's that looking?
Yeah.
Yes, I probably read
Throw it up there without.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think it has to say relaunching. The way that you've written the point number three, the first sentence.
Do you still want to encourage your residents to formally report problem properties to the relevant agencies?
Or I did like Kelly's thing of saying via the appropriate channels.
Via the appropriate channel.
It's very different if it's a privately owned house,
That's right.
or you can't kick someone who owns their house out of their house. So it can be very different for people that expect governmental, or if it's a rental property going to a rental management agency, whatever it may be.
And the Public Health Act has been updated from 1911, is now 2000. The Public Health Act, no, 2016.
They didn't take them off.
Are you comfortable with that word problem properties? Like, for example, I let my glass grow too long sometimes, my problem property.
Maybe as issues.
Yeah.
Report issues. Issues via, because sometimes it's subjective, right? Sometimes you don't like the person
tenancy related concerns.
But we've named that it's property neglect as well. So that's not just, sometimes it's not the tenant who's doing it. So that's where it's, maybe if it's far more vague, report issues via the appropriate channel. Sometimes people don't know whether it's state housing or not.
That's right, you don't know who owns the property and only guess.
Encouraging residents to formally report it.
Issues.
Yeah, I agree. It is quite subjective, that word problem.
Probably related
That's
issues.
the point, isn't it?
Do you put antisocial?
But it's not just.
No, it's not antisocial, and I think it's a
People whinge about it. So
And I actually think some of the stuff that comes out of a neglected homes starts with. So I don't know, maybe problem's not the right word, but I think we're taking away the social housing aspect. If there's an issue at a property, it needs to be reported.
formally report concerns. Yeah, concerns via the appropriate channel. Yes, because it's obviously a concern to the person who's raising it.
Property related
Go and knock on their door and say,
What is this a properly related issue by the appropriate channels?
Yeah.
And I understand that sometimes maybe that person's not approachable, but like we're missing that whole community care. Hey mate, your music was too loud last night.
Yeah.
Like I've got kids, cut it out.
Yeah.
Like we're missing that whole thing.
Totally.
And it's just further driving us.
So is that where this then goes into that advocacy piece of actually driving some more of that meet the street?
I feel like as a local government, that's the
neighborhood watch type.
Yeah, we can play. That's the part we have the responsibility to play, is reconnect that disconnection which is causing all this antisocial. Not causing, but piece in the puzzle.
people don't know their neighbours well enough to knock on their door to have a talk.
In the same line as your comments for point 1, Virginia, point 2, should that be something along the lines of requesting administration?
Yeah, I think
Council can't commit.
Why don't you just put direct the CEO in the top line? Yes, just that council direct the CEO, and then you don't have to write it every time.
The very, very top.
CEO.
Yeah, and then amend
To work
1.
with, the action word in there, work. To do some work. CEO needs to do some work. Not a very good action word.
that's right.
Utilising all available powers.
To consult with state government instead of work. I'm happy to do work.
I didn't realise it would involve this.
So you think consult? I was better. Consult with state government. Collaborate instead of work. You prefer collaborate?
I like to call the corporation is what
I think collaborate would be better than work. That would be your action word there, okay? That's my action word, yeah.
Utilise it. See if I can make sense. Just residents.
How
Okay.
does that sound?
How's everyone feeling about that?
Councillor Johansson.
I think it needs something on there to say in 6 months' time when this hasn't resulted in anything, we take a further step. But
Well, the one thing that is missing is that, well, no, it's advocacy, right? It's are we looking to maybe add this as part of we're looking at advocating for health? Are we looking at advocating for social outcomes, this space as well?
What about a time frame just on the relaunch the Safe Communities Partnership?
2 months.
3 months. By 30th of June.
Before some.
What's your benchmark? The person who's come to, or the 10 people that have come to you, you want them to have quieter neighbours, or?
it's not quite a neighbours. I could drive you around tomorrow and show you 50 houses with rubbish scattered through their front yards, trailers full of rubbish that have sat there for 3 or 4 weeks, yellow littered bins where they don't get emptied because they can't even manage to put the right shit in those bins, and then it stays there. I didn't swear, I said shit.
But and we have powers, and our rangers have powers too.
28 days, they tell you. All the rangers.
You give them an opportunity to remove it themselves first. But the rangers do have powers to enforce, and they have in the past, and I know that. All right. Are we ready to go back into standing orders?
Do you want to just put a by 30th of June and that's over communities? So there is is that enough time or not to have a meeting?
My concern with that is we'd need to obviously consult with who's going to be there, and then we need to get dates set so it can actually, it's not so much an issue at our end, but we've got to coordinate different groups and get it into diaries and things.
30th of June, I think, will be fine.
30th of June.
Do we still have funders for, I know partnership still exists. So those funding bodies are still contributing?
No. But so the director's comfortable with B being by 30 June. So let's do that. If I have any issues with that, I'll bring it back to council. I don't have an issue with putting some accountability in there. Maybe for council in terms of just tracking and accountability, perhaps you want to have a quarterly briefing from the CEO on progress or something like that. That can be done informally, that can be done at a workshop, but at least then you're kind of building in a little bit of monitoring how things are going. And then from your perspective, Councillor Johansson, if it's not getting traction, council have got the opportunity to monitor that.
So there's another dot point and a 3.
Yeah, I think
so it's to provide quarterly updates.
You might want to make it 4 because the number 3 is about public awareness campaign.
Yeah. Quarterly updates.
To council on progress. We're currently providing you with quarterly updates on other things. We'll just add that into a regular reporting process, right?
Okay. All right, who would like to move back into standing orders? As a none, so far. All right, so we currently have a motion on the table. We now have a alternate motion, and that is the Council direct the CEO to collaborate with state government or relevant departments and agencies to implement stronger accountability measures for tenants in state-owned housing who engage in antisocial behaviour, criminal activity or severe property neglect, and 2, utilise all of government powers under the Public Health Act to better extend Local Government Act 1995 and other relevant legislation to enforce compliance with properties that become public health hazards or significant nuisance to neighbours. 3, initiate a public awareness campaign to support residents by encouraging residents to formally report property-related issues via the appropriate channels, ensuring full transparency regarding council's efforts to address this issue, and relaunching the Safer Communities Partnership, networking meetings with key stakeholders by the 30th of June, and 4, provide a quarterly update to council on progress. Does anyone move this alternate motion? Councillor Johansson, some to second the motion. Councillor Swaffer. Is there anyone against this motion? Motion has carried. Now the original motion. Councillor Johansson, Councillor Swaffer, are you happy with closing that out? Yeah.
So Johansson just takes it off the table.
Takes it off the table, yeah.
Give the mover and second.
Yes, he was, to move, you got to move to, no, as long as they're happy.
I think so.
Yeah. All right, well, that motion has carried. Well done, everyone. All right, 15 is question by members of which new notice has been given. There is none. 16, urgent business approved by a person presiding by decision. There is none. 17 is matters behind closed doors. And the meeting has closed at 7:25 p.m. For the next meeting to be held, we don't have a date there. First, 28th.
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 Next meeting to be held on the 28th of April, 2025, 6 p.m. at Council Chambers. Thanks, everyone. It doesn't make any sense. Move the cameras.